or more importantly, if you have something nice to say to our fellows, please do after their presentations. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Te Aomihia Vaka. We supported Te Aomihia's participation in the 6-month UNESCO Fisheries Training Program in Iceland, where she developed her understanding of fisheries management, industry, and resource economics. The learning exchange was definitely two-way, with Te Aomihia sharing her knowledge of Te Ao Māori, Māori worldview, and Mātauranga Māori, Māori knowledge, with her teacher and fellow students. Since her return, she has instigated a series of consultations to develop a sustainable coastal policies and practices for her village and tribe. Her work to protect and advance the interests of Māori and marine environmental management has increasing importance at a local and national scale. During her time as a fellow, Te Aomihia also spoke widely at international meetings and in the media about her work and the fellowship. Highlights include being a plenary speaker at the 2022 Arctic Circle Assembly and on an Indigenous peoples panel in COP27. Unfortunately, Te Aomihia is unable to join us due to family emergencies, and we're sending her lots of aloha to her and her whānau right now, but she was kind enough to do a pre-recording so that you are all updated with where she's at. So Hayley, if you could bring up that video, please. Te aloha.
Tēnā koutou katoa, greetings in my own language. I'm sorry I can't be there in person or giving this presentation live, so you're receiving a video version. I'm currently I have been called back to my marae in order to set up for a funeral for one of my cousins who unexpectedly passed away over the weekend. So apologies, but I do want to still deliver this video presentation for you all so that you can get a bit of a gauge of what I've been up to and or who I am, what I've been up to with the fellowship and my next steps, as well as just take some time to acknowledge all those that have supported me. So with that, I welcome and acknowledge you all to this presentation. For those that don't know me, my name is Te Aomihia Vaka. I'm an Indigenous Māori woman from the coastal tribes of Ngāti Porou and Northern Whakaata, based on the east coast of the North Island of New Zealand. You can see both my traditional meeting houses and ancestral lands and waters reflected on the slide. These are areas that are core to my identity as an Indigenous Māori woman, being raised with a worldview that sees the environment as my tepuna or as my ancestor. I've been raised with a sense of duty to ensure that our lands and waters remain healthy for the benefit of our current and future generations. And I guess through meeting this obligation, the environment will provide for myself and my people. So this reciprocal concept is known as kaitiakitanga and is quite common to a lot of Indigenous peoples around the world. Both whakapapa and kaitiakitanga have been constant in my life and are underlying foundations for me when it comes to choosing different professional and personal pathways in life. In terms of this fellowship, I was one of 2 of the inaugural fellows announced in 2021, which was such a huge privilege, and so have been a fellow now for a good 2 years, maybe over 2 years, I should say, but am in the final review stage of my last milestone with the fellowship, which I'll talk about later on in this presentation. So these are the things I'll cover. I'll cover some of the highlights from the fellowship program I've been on, some of the challenges, how the fellowship has supported me both personally and professionally, and what are my next steps, some acknowledgements. And given I'm not there to take questions, I'm sure if you do have questions, if you just send something in the chat or put something in the chat or send an email to the team, and they'll get those questions to me and I'll answer you directly via email. Given we're limited on time for this presentation, just to break down my overall program was split into two segments. One was to build my capability in fisheries management and policy, not only to develop myself professionally, given I was working at that time with the Māori Fisheries Trust, known as Te Ohu Kaimoana, based in Wellington, here in Aotearoa, but also personally, so that I could contribute back to some of the mahi or work happening at home, and have a better understanding of fisheries internationally and at a national scale, where the gaps, and understand where the gaps are, how our mātauranga or our Indigenous local knowledge at place could feed in and shape those systems. And so to fulfill this objective, I participated in the 2021 intake of the UNESCO Grow 6-month fisheries training program in Iceland. Last year, I gave quite an extensive overview of what that looked like. So I won't get into it just because of time. But I did it did give me a holistic overview of fisheries. I was able to learn about, especially in my area of specialization, around the value chain of fisheries and kind of its interconnectedness with other components of fisheries management, and also conducted a research project which helped contribute to a policy response my organisation Te Ohu Kaimoana did at that time, where I looked at mātauranga Māori or Indigenous Māori knowledge and values and practices, and how you could use that equitably alongside Western contemporary fisheries management knowledge to inform a particular policy. So I use a framework known as two-eyed seeing that comes from Mi'kmaq elder from British Columbia, from the Ikazoni First Nation, Dr. Albert Marshall, which really helped frame and help me articulate why utilising, or not utilising because that sounds extractive, but considering and acknowledging Indigenous knowledge systems could actually create a more effective policy, as particularly in the fisheries sector. So that was all well and good. So the highlights, obviously, from seeing the Northern Lights, catching cod in the Arctic Circle, to meeting highly sophisticated and talented individuals from all over the world. This whole experience helped shape my perspective on fisheries as well as public policy. Another highlight I just wanted to mention was my attendance to the Arctic Circle on behalf of the fellowship, even more so to speak at the special memorial service that was held for Sue Tai. As part of that event, I spoke about how I hope to continue Sue's vision through the work she was doing in Iceland and for the organisation that I worked for at the time, Te Ohu, and the work I'll do in the future with my whānau Hapua Niwi, as well as other Indigenous peoples of Te Moananui Kiwa, or the Pacific. I also got invited to share space with other Indigenous peoples of the Arctic to help elevate the role of Indigenous guardianship in addressing the existential challenges of climate change and ecosystem and biodiversity loss. It was just such huge privilege, and I've put in a link here to the YouTube, a YouTube link to the kōrero I gave, because that was all documented online. So the other segment of my fellowship was to contribute to a project back home in my own rohe, or my own region, with my people, and this involved me understanding where I could best contribute and carry on the extensive work of those relations of mine who have been dedicating their lives to serving our people and the environment through voluntary, practical, technical and professional services. I also wanted to acknowledge some of our Hawaiian whānau within the fellowship circle, Keho, Ulu, Kale and Yana, for providing me with some great guidance and affirming some aspects of my approach to working with my own people. So this led me to conduct the first stage of a multi-stage hapu project that aimed to unlock the potential of our act. We currently have a settlement act as a result of a deed of settlement. My the collective hapu to which I affiliate negotiated with the New Zealand government to come up with the settlement. So the act is the enactment of that deed of settlement. So it was to look at unlocking the potential of the Act, mātauranga Māori and Western science to give effect to the practice of kaitiakitanga over our coastal marine area, or rohe moana, build understanding to develop mātauranga hapu frameworks, processes and tools that will enable kaitiaki and other decision makers to protect and manage our rohe moana, and build our whānau and hapu capability to actively participate in the decision making and management of our coastal marine area, Ōrehē Moana. Main deliverables of this project was to produce a research plan for my hapu and produce a report outlining insights from the workshops I ended up running throughout 2022 with my hapu and wider hapu collective, and recommendations for our takutai trust, which is the legal body that got established after the signing of the deed of settlement, that represents collective interests of the hapu within our particular boundary of the coastal marine area, as well as recommendations for research. It also acts as an informative piece, providing some parameters for how communities in the Pacific could gather insights and enable bottom-up approaches for not only fisheries or oceans, but environmental management generally. Highlights, oh my gosh, so many, but I think just being stronger in my assertion of my tipuna and our rights as tangata whenua, our whakapapa, our kaitiakitanga responsibilities. It was great to provide space for my hapu to talk about our practices, customary practices, vision, aspirations, knowledge, and challenges that lay ahead. Highlight was just being home, feeling the fulfillment and purpose. Feeling that by returning home to serve my community, and learning more about our lands, rivers, coastline, ocean through our traditional transmission methods like waiata, or songs and chants and karakia and prayers, art, etc. So, and also just being able to learn a bit more about our traditional methods of how we preserve and how we harvest, and when we choose not to harvest our staple seafood resources. I know I'm going a bit over time, but it was an awesome project, and definitely feeling like I'm in a position now and have the trust of my whānau to further take the mantle of protecting our rohe moana area into the future. So we'll see. Some of the challenges really quickly, because I am very conscious of time. I had a bit of isolation while I was overseas, just when it came to communicating and helping people understand the role of Indigenous peoples, their rights under the United Nations framework, the value of Indigenous knowledge, all those things. Sometimes I felt it just became difficult at times trying to explain to people who really couldn't get it the first time. So I really had great support from the fellowship mentors and staff, just to those words of affirmation that I'm doing the right thing and to remain confident and believe in myself. Those are all very valuable, particularly when I was alone overseas and not having sort of someone else back up what I would be saying. That was one challenge. Another challenge was just having that limited time frame for my hapu project, just 1 year to do that. But I guess that was mitigated by understanding that what other whānau members were doing. So getting out and actually talking to all my family members, and hapu sub-tribal members who have been doing work and what they've done so far, and what future work they're wanting to do. So understanding that helped me sort of put into scope what I would be doing. So being that first phase of a wider piece of work that other whānau members will continue. the other thing was probably risk management could have been a bit better, particularly as we suffered quite a bit of extreme weather events in the last year. It made running the wānanga up the coast, which is a very rural area and low-lying coastal areas, it made running them very difficult because we had a lot of heavy rain, which flooded out the roads and just didn't do well for infrastructure. Infrastructure, everything was just not the best, and so whānau either couldn't come because of the road closures or didn't want to get stuck, as well as just needing to find another venue at times because our marae got flooded out or the car park got muddy. So anyway, that was mitigated by leaning on some other whānau who were able to help assist with alternative arrangements. So in terms of the support, and I know I'm going over time, but I've listed them all there, how the fellowship has supported me professionally and personally. So many things. I've just tried to sort of put them into high level, statements. And I'm just so grateful because this fellowship has just opened up so many doors for me I would have never imagined for myself. And I think that's particularly through networking, but also just the opportunity to participate in the UNESCO program, as well as carry out work back in my hapu. It's enabled me to get a really full understanding from an international to a real local level, what systems I'm dealing with, what processes not me, but our people have to deal with, and how to sort of navigate that. So very grateful. So what's next for me? I am currently contracting. I've started my own journey as an environmental consultant, providing a range of services, including research, professional services, and policy support and development. Some of the projects I'm working on include a project called Tangaroa Araro, which is reimagining what marine governance in Aotearoa would look like if we centred Tangaroa and Te Tiriti o Waitangi at its heart. I've been also, and that's been supported by Te Hui Kaimoana, so I'm still linked with my Te Hui Kaimoana whānau through that project. I am also working on a strategy for one of our conservation forestry projects, or forest projects, here on the East Coast, known as the Raukumara Paimanga, providing just some strategic policy services to the governance group, which is made up of Ngāti Porou, Te Whānau Apanui and the Department of Conservation. So quite a Te Tiriti partnership approach to that project. Supporting Moana New Zealand with the their sustainability strategy. Very limited in that capacity though, so if Catherine's on the call, kia ora, she's the one to go to on this. But I have been supporting in that area as well. And I've just recently jumped on board onto the Poipoia team, which is another environmental consultancy that are helping iwi and Māori participate in all the water services reforms happening here in Aotearoa, as well as the resource management reforms. So yeah, that's requiring a lot of my time moving forward. I also am now on the trust for the Tairawhiti Waka, based here in the Gisborne region. We help sort of fulfill our trust deed to make sure the waka is accessible to our community and provide education, as well as upskill our whānau in waka kaupapa, or sailing and navigating the oceans. And that has also led me to being on the board of the National Wakahaurua board. So yeah, keeping very busy. And lastly, after my time speaking at the Arctic Circle, I got connected to Global Choices, which is an organisation based in the UK and through Global Choices got asked to come on to the Arctic Angels Network, which is a group of women, of young women who are leading the charge and being the voice of climate change. So that's been an awesome connection. It's helped me see what other networks of women are doing, and I have just been invited to attend a whole Earth Systems workshop in Portugal in September at the expense of the Arctic. So they're paying for all my expenses. So yeah, awesome group of women, and I've linked Gillian with that group. So hopefully we can get some more collaboration going there. And yeah, just a lot ahead. So noting the time, I've gone way over, but I just wanted to acknowledge everyone, my whānau, my hapu, particularly ngā tirangi, Reporua marae, Rauru marae, te whānau muara ki ngai, tangi haere, ngā tiu e pohatu, te whānau rua taupiri ki tūparoa, te whānau ahine tāpura, te whānau ahine kihu, te papatepu o ue pohatu me te papatepu o te Ngaire Takutai Trust for your support, knowledge and contributions, particularly to the project. Yeah, also to my whānau, I've listed you all individually there. I'm not going to say all your names, but you know who you are, and I'm just so grateful for your support, for your love, and all the organisations listed there too. I would not be here without you. So I've chucked in half of a Māori proverb there, which is he tuatake tini, and just this whole fellowship has been a win for us all, and I wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much. That's all from me. Please take note of my email, flick me an email if you've got any questions, but just, yeah, it's not the end. I'm sure I'll still be involved in some capacity with the fellowships, particularly in a mentoring capacity for future fellows and current fellows. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where our network of women, how, you know, what we can do together and how we can collaborate and be unified and be a strong voice for the Pacific. So thank you so much.
As you all know, Tao is unfortunately not with us, but if you do have any questions for her, you can either chuck it in the chat or you can email the email that sent out the invite for the Zoom link to attend this event, and we can get those to her and we can get her to respond to you directly. I also want to acknowledge the fact, just to really touch on how much our fellows do. Tao, as she mentioned, Aotearoa New Zealand experienced extreme weather events in the past 6 months, and Gisborne, Ngāti Porou and her iwi hapu experienced probably some of the worst effects from the cyclones that hit Aotearoa New Zealand, and she was one of the main responders for her community, and she was very hands-on with getting enough money, getting food, getting water to the communities and families that were cut off because of landslides, flooding, and everything that comes with a cyclone. So we had to actually push back her fellowship for a few months because she called us and said that she just can't meet the deadline. And we said, don't worry about it, man. Do what you got to do. Do what you have to do for your community. So she's incredible. And like she said, she's going to be with us forever. Moving on to our other 2020 fellow, Tepue Mai. Based in New Caledonia, Tepue has used the support of the fellowship to further research on microalgae, focusing on the risk of toxic and harmful microalgae on human health and on shellfish farming. Ciguatera fish poisoning affects up to 200,000 people in Oceania annually, and through her fellowship, she gained the confidence to apply for the Young Talents 2021 L'Oreal UNESCO Award for Women in Science. The scholarship allowed her to travel to France for a month to work with specialists in toxic microalgae, identifying species present in New Caledonia and analyzing the toxins produced by these organisms. She also presented her research to a global audience and attended a 2-week mentoring intensive. In her final year as a fellow, Tepue has co-authored 4 research papers, secured payment employment in a field in Tahiti, and identified a new species of marine sponge, while also participating in the incredible event that is HAVA, and giving back to her community by inspiring young people in schools to pursue science. Tepoe, whenever you're ready.
Yes, hi everyone. So Hele will, yes, if you can put my slides, please. So yes, I'm Tepoe Raumei. I come from Tahiti. So when I applied to the Sutai Ocean Fellowship, I lived in New Caledonia. So I'm going to tell you about what I did during my 2 years of fellowship and the impact of the Sutai Ocean Fellowship on my professional career. So, Hele, if you can change, yes. So I will start my presentation by telling you about my experiences in New Caledonia as a researcher. I'll then go on to talk about the interventions I've made to communicate my work, and I will finish by a presentation of my new employment on my native island, Tahiti. So next. So in New Caledonia, I worked in a research program on toxic microalgae, in particular, especially in Gombia discus. So Gombia discus are toxic microalgae because they produce ciguatoxins, highly toxic molecules. So ciguatera poisoning is observed when Gombia discus blooms, particularly on reefs in poor condition. So the toxins accumulate in herbivores and are transferred to carnivores and humans. So next. So my job was to assess the impact of environmental parameters on Gombia discus proliferation, in particular light intensity and temperatures. So to do this, I worked at Ifremer, so next, in a team of 7 people, yes, and I carrying out field missions with my colleagues, and we made diverse laboratory experiments. So at the end of this job, I get many new skills. So it was very benefits for me. So next. So as part of this job, I took part in various scientific events, such as the Fête de la Science. The aim of these events was to share with young people our professional career experience in science and our work. So I was invited to present my work in New Caledonia, and it was a very good experience to share my experience with young people, especially from New Caledonia. So next. I have also worked, so I work in communication with young people, but I also, write the scientific articles. So scientific articles, it's very important for researcher. This is a proof of our works and the level of our works. So more you have an article, more you have a good a good community. So I was able to be a co-author of 2 articles. One article on marine sponges with Australian people on the identification of a new marine sponge from French Polynesia. I also be a part of a second article on stranded cetacean in Pacific conservation biology. This work was with Claire Garrix, who know also Sutai. And my last article is still in preparation and will be published, I hope, in the Journal of Ecological Research. So next. So actually, currently I am in Tahiti, and now I'm working at the local institute named Institut Louis Malardet, ILM, and I work in the laboratory of natural products. So in this lab, we work in medicinal plants and also in holoturia. So I am in charge in a research program on holoturia. So we work in collaboration with a private holoturian farm named Tahiti Marine Products, and there are four tasks, 4 missions in this project. But my work will involve in developing a collagen extraction process, and will consist in testing collagens in cosmetics and nutraceuticals. So next. So to complete my mission as a Sutai fellow, I will follow a training, recheck training in August, in order to to be able to assess the health of coral reefs in French Polynesia. So it will consist in make an inventory of organisms in an area. So to finish, so my next slide. So to sum up my experience as a Sutai Ocean Fellow, this fellowship enabled me to achieve my professional goal, that to become a researcher in Tahiti. So I am very, very, very happy that I achieved this goal thanks to the Sutai Ocean Fellowship. So to finish, I would like to thank you all the team of Sutai Ocean Fellowship for your support over the past 2 years. So I really appreciate to work with you. So I want to especially thank Kathy, Gillian, Linda, and Catherine. We had every month call, and it was very very a good support for me during these 2 years. I want also to thank the Sutai family, your family, Gillian. So thank you for your support. So thank you very much. And I will say to future to Lula and Crystal, good luck for your job, your project. Good luck also to our new fellow. I hope you will you will achieve your goal. So thank you, everyone.
So tele lava tepoe. Now, does anyone, we have 5 minutes, very strictly, we have 5 minutes for any questions for tepoe. You can just jump off your mic. No need to raise your hand. Or anything nice you would like to say.
Hi,
That's absolutely-
Hi, Gillian. Tepoe, congratulations on a very successful fellowship. It's really nice to see you have spanned a range of experiences in communicating your work and working with communities, but also through to publishing. And, you know, publishing work is difficult. It's a very different way of thinking about work and knowledge. It's really not the Pacific way of thinking about it. It's so strict and tight and, you know, scientific. But you've clearly achieved a lot, and now that you're employed in an area where you really want, I think you've ticked so many of the things that Sue wanted for all the amazing young women in the Pacific, you know, all the people of the Pacific, but particularly the women and particularly young women. So yeah, congratulations. It was really lovely to hear of your success.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you very much.
There's also a few nice words in the chat being te poe that I will let you read. But whakatau tera lava te poe, your growth. I'm not going to cry, but everything that you've been through in the last 2 years, it has truly been an honor watching you grow and really step into any challenge that you face, not just within the work that you created with the funding, but also the work that came with the opportunities with the work from the funding. It has been absolutely inspiring, and I'm just beyond proud of you, of how you've faced every single challenge that has been thrown at you. So congratulations on everything you've achieved and everything you will achieve. But you're not going anywhere, that's for sure.
Thank you, Gillian.
We are now going to have a little interlude where I would like to invite the Vice President of Conservation International's Asia Pacific Program, Mark Erdman, to make a very, very special announcement.
Thanks, Gillian, and kia ora. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone. Wonderful to be here with you guys. It's also fantastic, really, for me, who hasn't been that involved in the fellowship, to see how it's evolved. And, you know, it's quite a milestone to be graduating your first 2 fellows. So congratulations to the fellows, and congratulations to all of you, from Gillian to Linda to Katie, to everyone who's put so much time into putting this fantastic fellowship together. It's really wonderful to see it. Of course, I guess we almost recognize that the driving force behind why we're here today is Gillian's mom, who, of course, is the amazing woman, Sue Miller-Tay. And she was indeed a force of nature. And it's actually quite wonderful to see that she continues to be a driving force, even as she's watching over this from afar, I'm sure with quite a big smile on her face. I just wanted to take a brief opportunity to remember Sue, and specifically to commemorate her in a kind of unique way, I suppose, which is by announcing the description of a new fish species, Sue's dwarf goby, Eviota, which you can see in the background here. I think I'm able to share screen. Let me see if I can do that to show you a photo. Oh, is that working correctly? There we go. Can everyone see that? Hopefully.
Yeah,
anyway, so that's a photo of Sue's dwarf goby, as well as a painting of it. Just as a quick background, this is a fish species that I discovered while doing a biodiversity survey around Samoa back in 2015 with one of Sue's proteges, Chanel Van Dyken. And at the time when we found it, I knew from just the fact that it stood out quite from a color perspective, that this was a new species. And we were very keen to describe it right off the bat as a Sue fish. It just seemed appropriate. It's endemic to Samoa. It's Sue's colors, and it's a beautiful little fish. Unfortunately, I had to get genetic comparison material from a number of rather remote Pacific sites. And that took a number of years, so many years, in fact, that Sue tragically passed away while I was in the midst of doing that. But fortunately, that was completed, and it allowed us to show conclusively, not only color-wise, but also genetically, that this is a very unique species. And so we just published this at the end of June. So that's Sue's dwarf goby. I think it's quite fitting for Sue. It's endemic to Samoa, beautiful, and of course Sue's colors as well. So you know, a nice thing I suppose also about a species name is that as long as it was properly described and truly is unique, it's into perpetuity, which is a nice way I think to remember Sue. So yeah, that was really it. We did have a photo, or so rather a painting commissioned of Sue's dwarf goby. You can see it there on the screen, but we've had that printed and framed. It's now at Linda's house, and that will be passed on to Jillian's family, hopefully in the near future. And with that, I'll just simply once again congratulate all of you, the new fellows, the current graduating fellows, as well as all of you who put this wonderful program together. And let's remember Sue. Thank you.
Mark, I believe my father has a few words to say. Whether or not he's going to be able to unmute himself, I don't know. Dad, are you able to unmute yourself?
I have.
There we go.
Hear me. Hi everyone. Talofa. Jillian sprung this on me this morning. I'd just like to say thank you. Thank you to everyone that's involved in this, and also all the people behind the fellowship. Congratulations to those people that are coming in, the new fellows, and also the ongoing people work doing the fellowship now. And also wish you all the best to all those fellows that are leaving the fellowship, and hopefully they will do work that is in their communities. Yeah, and I'd like to thank Mark. That was quite amazing. I thought I've seen every fish on the island, but so am I to understand this fish is called
so it's named after your family name, actually, and it's into perpetuity in that way. So yeah, something that your whole family can embrace, actually. But yeah,
wow, that's amazing. Thank you for that, Mark, and the work. I'm sure Sue will probably say, oh, I don't want that. She's that person, never wants to put herself before her work. And also I'd like to thank my daughter for all the hard work that you're doing for our family. And I like to say this in front of everybody, and also her siblings that's joined the meeting today. With the organizing and where the fellowship is in now, I'm very, very proud of the work that you're doing. I guess there's not much I can do except thank you so much for everything that you people are doing, and that we are hopefully doing some good in the Pacific and for all the communities. Thank you very much.
Dad. I'm not crying. This dust came into my eye, and it's just irritating it. Mark, just want to echo what my dad said for the incredible honor of naming a fish after my mother. I just want to say I didn't spring this on my dad. I told him ages ago, and then I had to remind him. And then he continued to tell me that he thought he's eaten every single fish in the ocean and he's never seen that one. And there were a lot of jokes about him, which is just classic island behavior. But Whaftai Tela Lava for that incredible honor, Mark. It honestly means so much to me and my family, as my dad said. Moving forward, I would like to introduce our 2021 fellow, 2022 fellow. I don't know how we got from 2020 to 2022, but we did. Our 2022 fellow, Yula Pitamama, a provincial fisheries officer working in a male-dominated industry. The fellowship is supporting her in gaining a postgraduate diploma in climate change through the University of the South Pacific. The course will greatly increase her skills in navigating what she sees as a disconnect between national, provincial, and community policies and actions in responding to climate change in the Solomon Islands. She spent much of the last 5 years working with the provincial government on protecting and managing biodiversity and responding to climate change threats and impacts. She also advocates at a provincial level for informed choices for sustainable development, supporting the efforts of many local partners who are addressing regional conservation issues. As you all know, in the islands, or if you don't know, you're about to know, in the islands, internet isn't exactly the most reliable thing in the world. So we asked Yula, even though she is on the call at the moment, we asked her to pre-record her presentation just because we didn't want her to miss out because of internet difficulties, but she is on the call to answer questions after we play her video. So Haley, if you're able to play Yula's video, please.
Are vulnerable to the natural hazards. Adaptation. Hello everyone, thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Yula Pitamama from the beautiful island of western part of Solomon Island called Nauru or Choiseul Island. I am the third of the 7 siblings and I'm working as a senior fishery officer here at Taro, Choiseul Province. Today, I am so privileged to be a fellow of this Shu Tai Fellowship Program. First of all, I would like to thank you and acknowledge the following. The Conservation International, Nye Tero, and Thai family for the support of this fellowship. I would also like to extend my thank you to the nominators around the Pacific Island, including my nominator, the partners and supporters, friends, families, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time to hear. We are ocean people, and our islands are surrounded by the ocean. We connected to the ocean in our daily living as a Pacific Island, and the ocean is connecting us. My father was a fisherman at my village, and we love to eat fish as a source of protein. He used to fish, and he can caught a good sizes of fish. And he fished for limit of time, but great catch. But now, fishing is still continue in our community, but it's hard to catch fish. The sizes are reducing. We have to spend the all night just to fish for the family. This is the great challenge for the community, which is really motivate me as a fishery officer to do my best to inform the communities to manage their marine resources for today and for future. There are many factors that can cause the decreasing or limited of the fish sizes in the marine and the marine resources, like overharvesting, overpopulation, and climate change. I am grateful indeed to be a fellow for this fellowship of Shutai Fellowship, which gives me a great opportunity to further my knowledge and skills on studying at the University of South Pacific to do my postgrad in climate change. And I'm doing it online while I'm here in Taro. I would like to highlight few interesting facts that I've learned so far. According to the 6th IPCC report, it stated that humans are responsible for the climate change. The impact of climate change is knocking at our door, and we can feel it or even notice it, like the sea level rise, increasing of heat, coral bleaching, ocean acidification, and extreme weather pattern like tropical cyclones. We are vulnerable to the natural hazards. Adaptation and mitigations are our way forward. We are resilient, and we will continue to stand strong to do whatever we can do to survive and live in our beautiful island. By reading and watching the work of late Sue Tai, I was inspired and I learned a lot from her. And it helps me to support my people in the community to manage their marine resources. Sanai varuka tanam jazu pu golembovoy, which means in my language, thank you so much for the great work that you have done for us. Once again, one and all, thank you for your time. Thank you.
Faitela lava. Yula, you're on the call. Is there anything else you might want to add on to that before I open it up for questions? Really hope Eula's internet is working. Kalafai. There's a good chance that we have lost. Oh, hi Eula.
Yes,
Can you
hello.
hear us? Is there anything that you wanted to add on to your video that you may have
Yes,
forgotten
hello.
to add?
Thank you very much. I would like to once again say thank you very much. It's been a lot, and I'm still on the fellowship, so I would really like to say thank you and hoping to learn more as I continue with my study and with the fellowship as well. Thank you, Chilean. Thank you.
Is there any questions for Eula while we have her internet working? Or if there's anything anyone would like to say to Eula?
Yes. Can I ask a question, Tillian? Sula, I love
Eula.
that you were standing in front of the beach. It's beautiful, and very excited to see what you will be doing with the fellows. Thank you.
Eula, there's a question in the chat. Someone's asking, what your hopes are for the future of the climate space and for the remainder of the fellowship? So what are you hoping for the future within the climate space?
Sorry, I can't hear. Oh, what's the question again? Sorry.
What are your hopes for the future within the climate space.
Okay, yes. So thank you. So for the climate space, for my future is that like I am focusing on the fishery side of it, like more on my studies in my climate space is that I'm focused on ways that I can be helpful in helping out on the ways that how the climate change affecting our fisheries and how can we really help the community to mitigate and also to adapt on those, especially on continue to encouraging our communities in managing the marine resources, right, from the marine and even on the terrestrial as well, so that continue to move in that way, especially on my work here in dealing with the communities. So those are the way forward that I'm looking forward here in my career as in the climate space. Thank you. Thank you, Chilean.
Something that not many people know about Eula is that she, it shows through her work, she is very much a community woman and very much for her community. Alongside the fellowship and her studies, she is also a prominent person with the current elections that are going on within the Solomon Islands. And she's been a big help with her her community on her island in enabling people to understand kind of the political side of what's happening in the Solomon Islands for the betterment of her community. You are incredible as always. And it's just, I'm so glad that you were able to answer a question with your internet. Moving on, we now have our other 2022 fellow, Crystal Jufa. Crystal is a law and psychology student at the University of the South Pacific. She is a climate justice activist, human rights advocate, and a champion for Indigenous communities across the Pacific. She actively engages with the Young Solawara Pacific, and of course is a fellow of the Sutae Ocean Fellowship, Vaka. For over 15 years, Crystal has expressed her creativity as a poet, singer-songwriter, and artist. She utilizes her artistic talents to raise awareness on environmental issues and empower Pacific youth, emphasizing the crucial role they play in their communities and the world. Crystal promotes unity and change through advocacy, firmly believing that any harm to nature or Indigenous beliefs is a disrespectful act and threat to the livelihood of Indigenous peoples. She also advocates for the sovereignty of West Papua, emphasizing that no Pacific Island nation can truly be free until this is achieved. Crystal, once again, Crystal is based in Samoa, where the internet also isn't incredible. So I really hope Crystal's able to connect with us. Crystal.
Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Crystal. Go ahead.
Sorry. Halofalava and Kuriakari, Rosavo Avunde Crystal. And I'm a proud young member of Young Solar, as Jillian just mentioned. It is with great privilege that I stand before you here today to present my work and findings. Through this opportunity, I've been able to connect and collaborate with a number of networks and organizations all over the world and within the Pacific, and I'm more than grateful to share that with you. And without further ado, if Haley can just grab my slides. First of all, I'd like to take this time to thank the sponsors and the Te family for a wonderful virtual setup, as well as thank and welcome our audiences and participants. Thanking also my Young Solar team colleagues for their support and encouragement over the course of this journey. Thank my good friend Tahani for her help, and my mother for encouragement as well. Faftai telelava. If it would be okay, I'd like to share with you a poem that I had written about the ocean called The Epistles to the Ocean. Dearly beloved, must I mention how sound the night treats my mind? The winds have begun to hug my flesh, and the air is salt. She sings a tale for me, the sea. Such wonder her body breathes life like ours, nurturing into becoming, shelter for the lost and womb for the hungry. Her voice is loud and soothing. Her touch is soft and moving. She, our longest breathing mother. Her lungs gasp for our survival, and her body our point of travel. Her waters our soul's revival. She's a battery to the existence we occupy. She a roof to chaos. She's a blanket of hope. You must know of her tongue. She speaks to the rhythm of love. She who knows no language barrier. Her voice known by all. Her kindness ignored by none. Her eyes many would know. She a haven of safety. She a life of peace. She the cure to destruction. You must know now, darling, of whom I speak. The protector, the guardian, the mother of all things. In gratitude I write. Sincerely yours, Crystal. Next slide, please. As Jillian already mentioned, I am a law student who is hoping to study marine law and get on board with advocating more on the political side of things on how we can eradicate subjects like deep sea mining, coral bleaching, all throughout the Pacific and all over the world eventually. I'm also a psychology student and a continuous Young Salwara youth member, an IPDSML member. I'm an environmentalist. And for most of you who know me, I am an artist at heart. I advocated for West Papua for more than many years now, and also I advocate for nuclear disarmament. And yeah, next slide. When I had joined the Sute Ocean Fellowship, my goals that I was working towards or have been working towards was surrounding ocean policy, assisting, understanding ocean governance, and tracking climate discussions. Whilst working towards these goals, I was able and fortunate enough to work under PANG, which is the Pacific Network on Globalization, which is based out of Fiji. I was fortunate enough through SU to a fellowship to participate and engage, collaborate, and work with a numerous number of people through PANG. And my work in Fiji and understanding as a internship researcher has, I'd like to say, contributed to a huge fundamental part of my understanding of where I was and now where I want to be. Other than that, I am working on 2 different projects. One is the Keep It Clean campaign, Weigh Your Waste initiative, which is based on communicating and teaching, as well as helping children understand the roles that they play with plastic, the different and the 6 specific types of plastic that we commonly see lying around, and how you can recycle and use your waste to make objects and things that you can use on a day-to-day basis. Also a part of the Keep It Clean campaign. Also part of the Keep It Clean campaign initiative is I'm working with SHWAMA, which is the Samoa Recycled Waste Management Association, on collecting plastic waste in local schools to put together a plastic sculpture of the yellowfin tuna. And for those of you who know of the yellowfin tuna and Samoa, it is our biggest export. And since 2019, statistics have shown that the yellowfin tuna has ingested about 70% of plastic waste. So my goal in presenting this sculpture is not just to advocate the detriments of plastic in Samoa, but to also visually present to students and young generations that, you know, we are also part of the problem. And if we can understand, we can control our waste and eventually eradicate, if I'm not dreaming too much. Other than that, one of my other projects is the Little Voices documentary. This is based on traditional resource management and indigenous methods of fishing here in the Pacific, and how old materials and techniques have been proven to be used to promote a sustainable way of living and a sustainable way of approaching problems to do with our marine economy and our marine habitats. At the end of the slide, I'll just show a little snippet of what I've done so far here in Samoa. Next slide, please. Here I have for you just a list of all the collaborations that I participated in over the last year with help of the SUTE fellowship. The links I will put in I've attached to the next slide, sorry. And I'm also happy to announce that I'll be publishing my own book with help of SUTE and their support. It's an anthology on ocean advocacy. For those of you who are interested, please let me know in any way, and I'm sure I'll be happy to respond to you once that's done. Other than that, I'm also going to be in a children's comic to do with deep sea mining. And this is all solely because of a presentation that I had given on the Nautilus. And the Nautilus, for those of you who wouldn't know, Nautilus is one of the first deep sea mining companies that was introduced in the Bismarck Sea in Papua New Guinea, and has proven to be very costly and very damaging for our corals and our reefs and our people. But I'm excited to say that this book will be released by the end of the year. And if you're interested in that too, I'll be happy to pass on information to the SUTE fellowship, and yeah, you can find more information from them. Other than that, my other collaboration with the AAPS, which is the Australian Association Studies Canberra, I'll be a part of the Sustenance 2 booklet, which I will be featured as a co-author on more poetry. Other than that, next slide, please, or next few slides. As I've stated, these are just links for whoever's interested in finding more of my work as a poet and a writer. And the last slide is just all the collaborations that I've been a part of over the last year or so. I'd like to thank the staff team for their wonderful encouragement and support during this fellowship and this journey that I will take and continue to take with me. Thank you all for your time, and without further ado, if you could just bear with me for 2 minutes, I'll just show you a little snippet of what I've put together for the documentary, Little Voices. Haley, could you play the video, please?
I don't have the video, Crystal.
Oh, I attached it to the email that I sent you with it's with the slide.
It is not a Zoom call if there isn't one hiccup. I will say that. But I'm actually really proud of us that we made it through the first hour without any hiccups. While Haley tries to find that, is there any questions for, first of all, Crystal, as always, incredible. As you can see, Crystal's been with us for a year. She's already featuring in 3 books that will be out by the end of the year, and she's performed globally across the Pacific as well, with her art and her poetry, and is currently in Samoa, doing all the community work that she loves doing. If there's any questions for Crystal, by all means, just come off your mic, or if you have anything nice to say.
I found the video. Sorry.
Maybe right after we play this video.
Whaile wasa. Ia, olo ngofo ngai wo whako e whangaloa. Ia, o fo se ngā ka whai wafo. Ko ngofo se o mā kofo ia whio anga ngai. Oro ka mā sa whanguka. Ia o kia loa ka wa ai. Ia so ia. Ia, ke o waru whakai ka. Ia e musu e whamea o kia re whaire me. Ia oro loko amaro whi ngau rewa ringinga. Ia rau o maku siu ka mā. Ia rewa ngā e kia ringi wai kani. Ia mo rau o makua furu saifuanga. Ia. A ho o kua kuisi ka ngaka. E hoi rau whangau whangoka ia. Ngai vai ka o le oranga man me o ka ko ye ole whaivanga o kuri aku ia so ia sa whai ngofia ia mako sa la karaka mai menga yo o ngafo i kua papa ia mako me se i nga ka ia kua i kua uru ma ia ka minga i o maon me o inga ka ia ngafo ngol malo si o va afi ma mara o mau va afango ka o ye ngi vai ka o so fuanga ma le oranga o ka ko ia te re swinga le o ye mako Misalo ako inga umasa mo sunga le wo yo. On me o kele ampe. Jo akele ampe le yai. Si me o kele limu so sa mo le limu. Na o ia so sa le se limu le nga ori paka sa mo wai. ngau le pakasa ma wali mu le ko le ro rika yang yo le fa le ya ofanga ka apele le mu le ka ko le ya o ma mau fo le me ku le pe fa ngai va afite mi
I have no words for that. I am a little bit emotional because I am absolutely missing home right now. And as some of you may know, I come from Samoa, so that really hit the fatu. Crystal, like always, incredible work. You do it so effortlessly, being able to communicate with, being able to enter your community and being able to tell their stories. It's a real skill you have, and you have it so naturally. Does anyone have any questions for Crystal? Anything nice to say?
Hi, can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Yeah, hi. My name is Christopher Franck from Max 3 Impact Philanthropies. I'm calling you from Singapore. This is the third Sutai Waka that I'm attending, and I must say it is a very powerful moment. So thank you so much for all you do and all the impact of the scholars. Crystal, I must say, when I hear your your abilities, when I hear what your contributions, really it comes very loud as an artist, as a great communicator, as a person within your community. And yet the first sentence of the Sutai fellowship is that you are a law student. So I'm quite is there any reconciling on being a law student and pursuing a law path, and yet being such a prolific artist and committed artist? And why have you chosen to focus on law if your artistic impact is so powerful and so meaningful? What will the law really add to your current capabilities and to your impact? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your question. I have a lot to say about that. I took a year off law for a bit. I was initially studying criminal law, and it became quite draining. So I found what I loved best to merge with what I can do best. As a law student and as a lover of the ocean, I thought, we have so many issues here in the Pacific to do with ocean governance, and we don't have enough policies put into place to strengthen or legitimize our capabilities against these big corporations and their teething exercises in our oceans. Regardless of how many other policies have been put into place, I feel my role as a lawyer, as a marine lawyer, will have an impact because I can look towards making or implementing policies that can regulate and that can inform the public and stop, foreign companies from coming in and taking advantage of our resources, our marine resources, and protecting that the best I can, also whilst loving what I do and what I think I can protect for the meantime. I hope that answers your question. I've always been an advocate for the ocean. I grew up in the forests, in the river, near the rivers, but I also grew up near the ocean for half of my life, and it's sad to see how now we have so many detrimental forces coming in from all sides of the planet, looking to invest and buy out our marine resources without enough understanding of our of what could come of it. I'm speaking specifically to deep sea mining and how it will affect us tremendously.
Yeah, thank you very much for your reply. I really hope that you'll be able to balance both sides of your interest, the legal side, but also the artistic side. I think to be an effective lawyer in that space, you will have to commit a huge amount of time and effort to make a difference. But in that process, I hope you will not lose that very special voice that you have and the impact that it has on so many. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love Chris and Crystal for that very beautiful exchange. Without further ado, the moment we've all been waiting for to introduce our 2023 fellow, Naima Te Malia Fifita. Is a recent graduate from the William S. Richardson School of Law at the University of Hawaiʻi, Mānoa, where she studied environmental law with a focus on Pacific climate displacement and served as president of the Pacific Islander Legal Association. She also received certificates in environmental law and Native Hawaiian rights. With familial roots in Tuvalu and family residing across the South Pacific, Naima is committed to collaborating with communities in the region to combat the effects of climate change with a resilient and culturally appropriate restorative justice approaches. Her Pacific Islander and multicultural upbringing and world-embracing views have charged her engagement in numerous environmental spaces and discourses, particularly environmental justice, nonprofit work, legal research, education, and policy transformation. The Sutae Ocean Fellowship affords Naima the opportunity to effectively serve her Tuvaluan and Pacific community by documenting lived experiences, stories, and attitudes towards climate change and potential statelessness. Naima, whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Jillian. Talofa, a toko ingoa ka Naima Te Malia Fifita, toko kainga ne wau mai ka nua nuku patao mo whana puti I loto I Tuvalu. Talofa, everyone. My name is Naima Te Malia Fifita, and I'm joining this call from my home in Honolulu, Hawaii. As Jillian introduced or shared, I recently graduated from law school. So I stand with you, Crystal, and hope you know you can always call me if you need a vent, a study buddy, whatever. Haley, if you wouldn't mind sharing my slides and we can begin. Next slide, please. So my family, many of whom are pictured here on this slide and the next, is from the islands of Nukupatau and Funafuti in Tuvalu, which, if you don't know, is a group of 9 islands located about midway between Australia and Hawaii. And so these are the individuals who inspire me each day to do my utmost to serve my local and global community and to walk this life with purpose, faith, grit, compassion, and love. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be with you all here. It's wonderful seeing some familiar names. And thank you especially to the Ta'e family, the fellowship team, and to Linda for seeing potential in me and nominating me for this fellowship. Haley, you can go to the next slide. It's just more pictures. Before I begin, I just wanted to share a passage from the Baha'i writings, which I feel resonate with the purpose of this special fellowship and align well with this space. So this is the quote. It reads, "We cannot segregate the human heart from the environment outside us and say that once one of these is reformed, everything will be improved. Man is organic with the world. His inner life molds the environment and is itself also deeply affected by it. The one acts upon the other, and every abiding change in the life of man is the result of these mutual reactions." So in case, that struck a chord, I'll just post that in the chat, and then I'm excited to let you know about the project I'm doing with the fellowship. So next slide, please. So it's my belief that the strongest solutions of the future will really be informed by the wisdom of the past. And so the prerequisite to learning about these wisdoms is to listen. So the first outcome is inspired by my Tuvaluan heritage, and it consists of a compilation of stories and experiences of Tuvaluan people across the Pacific that would really highlight their traditional ecological knowledge related to marine resources, as well as their attitudes toward potential statelessness due to sea level rise and climate change, it tends to be a very sensitive and raw subject. So in collecting these stories, I hope to move beyond transactional engagements to build meaningful and lasting relationships with those that I'm learning from and engaging with. These stories would serve as the basis for the next two outcomes. So the second outcome involves an enrollment in a master's degree in international environmental law in a Pacific-based institution. And the research here would consider legal personhood as a means of bringing international environmental law in closer alignment with Indigenous worldview and traditional ecological knowledge. And it would, I hope, assess implications of its application in the Pacific region, where the well-being and protection of the ocean is integral to the Pacific Islanders' identity, health, and well-being and way of life. So this outcome, I hope, would honor and elevate Indigenous practices, generational knowledge, and ancient wisdom by drawing from from learnings gleaned through the initial inquiry and compilation stage in year one. And it would also help lay the groundwork for the third outcome. So Haley, if you wouldn't mind, next slide. So the third outcome entails the development of a program, which I've called Monatasi, that seeks to address a wide array of environmental, sociocultural issues through community capacity building across Pacific communities in these four areas: so resilience, advocacy, environmental stewardship, and cultural connection. And this could look like resiliency trainings, community bridging, and holding space for challenging and robust dialogue, partnership facilitation for those who are doing like-minded work, policy making and response, or simply a space for Tuvaluan and or Pacific people to practice culture and be together, which is important. So this outcome would use the insights from the first and second milestones, and those milestones would be foundational and guiding works throughout this process. So there's already been so much support from both family members, but also the wider Tuvaluan and Pacifica community, and just far and wide. And it just reminds me that this is what building climate resilience is about. It's about fostering that sense of kinship and a unified vision to create community around projects and initiatives that benefit the collective. So to be able to connect with people who have something to say, really something really important to say about how we should be navigating these climate-induced challenges as specific people, and then to hold space for those who carry wisdom that will show us and future generations the way forward towards a more resilient, restorative, future and in which humans feel a sense of well-being is precious, and I don't take that for granted. So even though we're at the very beginnings of this project, I've been able to connect with individuals from all over. And one that comes to mind is a team from the Rising Nations Initiative through the United Nations Global Center for Climate Mobility. And with them, I've been able to discuss potential for collaboration through this project, which is exciting. And I just want to throw it out there because, you know, this is all flexible, but if there are individuals here who would feel their work aligns with this, then I would love to connect and work with you. So please do message me on the chat, or I can provide more information. I also feel honored to embark on a journey and an opportunity that was specifically created for Pacific women in this area of work. You know, they are the carriers of generational knowledge and wisdom. And as a mother, I see it as my responsibility to do this work and to learn what is sacred in Tuvaluan culture, and not only protect it, but ensure that it exists for future generations. And finally, I think I would just like to share a bit about my why. You know, why this fellowship means so much to me, and this work means so much to me, and why it's important not just for myself, but for Tuvaluan people, Tuvaluan culture, and for Oceania. So this passion began when I had a conversation with my grandfather, who might be in the Zoom space here today. And I recall asking him how he felt about the fact that Tuvalu, his homeland, could seem disappear due to sea level rise. And after a moment, his response was, "It will never be gone." I don't know why oh, here we go. But it always brings up so much emotion for me. So this is me trying to do my part, and you know, all my life I've absorbed his lessons and stories of Tuvalu out of love and admiration, but this mission is also now a matter of survival. And because of climate change, the island of my ancestors, which was once completely self-sustaining and lush with vegetation enough to feed the families of multiple villages, are becoming inundated by the ocean. And truly, before this fellowship opportunity, I wondered whether I or my now 10-month-old daughter would ever make it in time to visit Te Malia, the island where my grandfather grew up and later took my mother to when she was an infant. And excuse me. Okay. Thanks for bearing with me. And it's the appellation that he gifted me as a child. So to close, more than anything, I'm hopeful that this fellowship will enable me to serve the Pacific region and its people meaningfully and sincerely. Thank you so much to my dear family members who have dedicated their time and energy to helping me develop and carry out this work. And I'm most grateful for the opportunity to learn and to contribute to such important work and to uphold the values that Su Ta'e steadfastly advocated throughout her life. So, Vaka last year.
Naima. We are so incredibly excited for your journey with us. It's like it continued to leave me speechless. Just a little bit about Naima's interview process. We all cried. So there's a lot of crying sometimes, especially when our fellows feel safe enough to be able to share such special moments in their lives, and especially their wives. It's second to nothing for me and my team. Even we've heard the grandfather story, and grandfather, if you're on the call, there's a lot of love for you here. There's a lot of alofa, and I'm not gonna start crying either. So if there's anyone that has any questions for Naima about her projects or even about herself, just to get to know her, anything nice to say, by all means, just come off mute.
Thank you, Gillian. Just allow me to say a few things.
Sefa, you're glitching a little
colleague
bit.
of. Okay, sorry, must be the connection. Can you hear me?
It's okay, we can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to say what a wonderful tribute this is to Sue, and what the fellows have achieved and are working towards is exactly what Sue would want. I say that as someone who worked with Sue for over 15 years, both at Salvation International and SPREP. But what I wanted to offer was if any of the fellows or Naima and the others who are currently working on their fellowships is interested to connect with the work that we do here at SPREP and want to come and spend time here, then just send me an email and we'll make it happen. I think the kind of passion and outlook on how we need to address environmental issues in the Pacific holistically is exactly what we need. And I know Sue would want us to also help in your journey, as this was quite an important organization for her. And also your dad, Gillian, because this is where they met. Thank you.
So tele lavas, Sefa. If anyone knows my family, they know that my mother and father met at SPREP, and I am a SPREP baby. It is a title that I take very seriously, and there's only a handful of us. Sefa Fafsa tele lava for those beautiful words. And you saying to connect with Naima, 100, yes. I have both of your emails, so I will do that right after we finish this call. Is there anything else anyone would like to say to Naima or even ask about her project? There's lots of kind words in the chat for you, Naima.
I have something just to say, Naima. I mean, you're clearly this is something that you care deeply about, and all of the people here and who know Sue know that caring deeply is actually the only thing that really makes a change, and it makes change in lots of different ways that you can't even imagine. And so yeah, thank you for sharing your personal connections to this, as well as, you know, the project itself, your fellowship, what you're going to be doing over this next period of time. One thing that always strikes me working in the Pacific for many years is, and living in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, the biggest city of so many Pacific Island peoples. With your project, quickly some of your thoughts on the fact that so many Tuvaluans and other Pacific Island peoples do not live home anymore, you know, yourself included, and what you think the challenge that might bring with your project, or the difference of views, you know, as well, that might come in your project from that.
Thank you for your question. Yeah, it's true. There's a huge number of Tuvaluans that don't live in Tuvalu anymore, and I know that there are diverse perspectives and attitudes towards climate change. Even the question of whether climate change is real, you know, that I can't say that all Tuvaluans feel the same way and view climate change in the same way, but I know that there's been substantial research and stories from Tuvaluan communities and individuals about why Tuvaluans, if they do not live in Tuvalu, why they might not be able or feel that they have the choice to return, with their children. And I also think this fellowship is going to reveal some answers to that question as well. And it'll really be an opportunity to see, what they view as possibilities in terms of where they locate themselves and where they locate their families.
Yeah, it's complicated, but it's a very, that notion of home. You can be home and not be standing on the land or in the ocean, and I think when it comes to climate change, the changes that we're seeing are so dramatic and so spectacular, and no more so than for the small Pacific Island states. So yeah, I'm very excited about your project, and it was lovely to hear from you.
Thank you.
Lava, to both of you for the beautiful interaction that you guys just shared, and with Sefa as well. Naima, we are so excited for you and your journey. Welcome, Afiomai. Thank you for agreeing to be nominated. I'm very excited for you. My mother would have loved to meet you. No doubt that she would have met you, and she would have taken you under her wing and done all the things that she's done for many others. So whafsaitele lava for being here, for being you, and whafsaitele lava to your family as well, that I know is on this call, for creating such an incredible woman, and to your baby, who is the cutest girl in the world. Right, family, to close up this year's Vaka event, I thought I would share a bit on how the fellowship is hoping to evolve moving forward. So bear with me, I'll only take 3 more minutes of your time, and then we can wrap this up and I can go to bed because it's 3 a.m. here. The past 2 years with Te Ao, Tepue, Crystal, and Eula have been all in one, eye-opening, heartbreaking, triggering, and soul healing. The Suta-A Fellowship was originally established to create more Suta-As, but it is turning into something that is so much more than that. Don't get me wrong, my mother, next to my grandmother, is still the most incredible woman in my life whose work still has a massive impact within the Pacific today. But after 2 years of supporting our fellows, it is clear that we need more Indigenous women, people, knowledge, and love in ocean spaces and every climate space. The past few months, we've been developing the idea of creating a Suta-A fellowship course. This course will have 4 modules, which are claiming culture, communicating cross-culturally, understanding environments, and navigating challenges. The claiming culture module aims to address the issue of disconnection from culture caused by colonialism and the lack of respect for cultural knowledge in Western spaces, supporting our fellows on bringing their full selves to Western spaces that weren't traditionally built for them, for Pacific women, opens up more space for other Indigenous peoples to bring their whole selves. Communicating cross-culturally is a module that addresses the fact that being able to code switch is a huge privilege in these spaces. By understanding the skill of code switching, our fellows and others can learn to communicate effectively with people from diverse cultural backgrounds and build stronger relationships across cultural divides. Understanding environments comes from the belief the fellowship has that any impactful and sustainable solution must address 3 key factors: individual growth, community development, and systemic impacts. It is truly a holistic approach. By understanding the systems that we live in as a society, we gain a better perspective on how to create change that benefits ourselves as individuals, our immediate community, and have an impact that can span across oceans. Navigating challenges speaks to the very real accessibility barrier, not just within the Pacific, but with all communities that are Indigenous and a minority. Equipping our participants with the necessary skills to overcome these barriers related to access to technology and information. Moreover, The course places strong emphasis on the inclusivity and language diversity, recognizing the importance of preserving and valuing local language and cultural identities. Today's problems are rooted in the systems we live in, whether it's climate change, racism, exploitation, discrimination, or another social justice issue. Creating this course allows open-minded thinking and collaboration that is rooted in Pacific culture to further sustain impactful ocean solutions, further developing new ways of collaboration between communities with different goals and work together to address the intersections between them and uplift everyone involved. Because at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same goal, which is a better world. There is more on how we're evolving that involves a lot more engagement within and outside ocean spaces, along with representation and showcasing our fellows, projects, and communities. However, these themes originated not only from our fellows' lived experiences, but experiences from the Pacific women who have been in ocean and climate spaces for many years. I'm not going to go down the road of explaining the hurt and challenges that Pacific women experience daily, but rather I want to share with you why I'm still here and am committing to what some people might call very optimistic way forward. Lately, there's been a lot of talk globally of Indigenous people and knowledge. It seems people are finally jumping on the bandwagon and realizing all the things we've known and done. But something that isn't talked about enough is Indigenous love, alofa. I swear I'm not trying to be cliche right now. What do I mean when I say Indigenous love? I'm talking about the love we have for our families that are made up of blood, friends, villages, land, animals, oceans, and marine life. I'm talking about the love that our cultures taught us so that we could understand the interconnectedness that so many people talk about on big platforms. I'm talking about the love that my mother fell in love with, which made her so committed to the Pacific and kept her in Samoa 20 more years than she planned to be. I always read the stat that Indigenous people comprise less than 5% of the world's population, but protect 80% of Earth's biodiversity. This is because we show the same love we have for our loved ones towards our land and oceans. Our identities are tied into our culture, which is embedded in our environments and spoken by the people who raised us. The themes I spoke on, while they are heavy topics and based on the hurt that a lot of Indigenous Pacific women have experienced, I created this concept from a place of love. This love is the love that my grandmother, mother, aunties, friends, and my father taught me, even when the world was against them. They never failed in raising me in Indigenous love. It is the love I feel when returning to my village, Mota'a, and it's the love our moana washes over me whenever I am near her. Developing this concept, I stuck to a very, very well-known Samoan proverb that can be seen in action across the Pacific. Oleala I le pule o le tautua. The pathway to leadership is through service. We serve because we love to serve those who's raised us, became us, and uplift us. It can be seen and heard in our fellows' projects, journeys, and their why. Which is why the Sutae Fellowship will only ever be a safe space of Indigenous love. It is hard enough being a woman of color in the world we live in. It is hard enough having to accept the devastating realities we face as Pacific people. It is hard enough navigating spaces that were not traditionally built for us. But as you all know, Pacific people always show resilience, empathy, and Indigenous love in the face of adversity. I am village made, and I know my fellows are village made. The Sutae Fellowship is a village to further support not only our fellows, but the villages that raised them. If anything I have said or resonated, or interested you, our doors are open for a conversation, and we are now looking to develop this thinking so that we can start implementing the concept. Our mentorship circle for our fellows is also always open to anyone who wishes to support them on their journey, and moving forward, we will be engaging with our mentors and nominators more with our fellows. Tele lava to our fellows Te Ao and Te Poe for 2 incredible years. Watching the challenges and growth you both have overcome has been one of my biggest honors. Tele lava for allowing us to be part of it. Whaftaitele lava to our partners, Conservation International and Nia Terra, for the continuous support, and to Pia Seligman and Aulani Wilhelm, who were a huge part of creating what the fellowship is today and honoring my mother so lovingly. Whaftaitele lava to our fellows, families who raised these incredible women. Our fala is one that you are always welcomed in. Whaftaitele lava to Mark Erdman again for the incredible honor of naming a fish after my mother and family. Whaftaitele lava to our nominators for supporting the fellowship and nominating incredible women. Whaftaitele lava to all of you who continue to wrap our fellows in love and support them in these spaces. Whaftaitele lava to my team, Katie, Linda, Catherine, Nancy, and Haley. Quite literally, cannot do this without you. Whaftaitele lava to my father,